Hello guys, welcome back to Outdated Gamer, Bernie here, and today I'm going to talk about a very common topic, and that is the backlogs. So people nowadays have a lot of games to play, and because nowadays it's much more easier to buy games, even though collecting it's still an expensive job, but getting games it's not, because you can get games for a buck, especially if you are a lot into the Steam thing. You can get games really cheap, and that's an awesome thing. I mean, considering how expensive games were back then, it was awesome to have nowadays these kind of deals and Black Fridays, things like that, to have crazy prices on things that we really wanted. But the problem is sometimes we end up buying stuff we don't want to, or we don't have time to, and then that creates the backlog lists that people have nowadays. Even there's even websites, and you can keep track what game you will play next and things like that. So people actually with the cheap games they get really easily flowed with a lot of games to play with, and this is kind of a problem nowadays, I see. And for me personally, I never had this problem because I've learned as a kid one thing, and it's actually a funny story. Because when I was a kid, I had my PlayStation 1 and it was modded, and it still works actually. And the curious thing, and the fantastic thing about this console is I could burn discs. Besides being able to play American games or Japanese games, I could play burn discs as well. And yeah, I have a modded console for that. But back then, being a pirate or downloading games was not the thing, and you probably wouldn't spend more money trying to copy games than you actually buy them, because just a single disc to burn will be about $20, which is a lot. Nowadays with $20 you can buy a cake of 25 CDs or 50. Which is crazy. But back then, the CDs for burning, they were really expensive. Yeah, and another thing which was really curious was even disc burners were almost the same price as a PlayStation 1. So why the fuck I would ever pirate games on the PlayStation if the actual hardware to record it to copy games were even expensier than consoles and games. So yeah, but for me there was this guy that actually used to sell games, copy games, for about $7, and I gotta say, man, it was crazy because I had so many games because of that. And I remember being the list, and my father would like, you can choose like 5 games. I was like, this one. Yeah, it was simple as that. Crazy. As a kid, I definitely love it because I could play everything. It was strange for me seeing other people that have a PlayStation. They couldn't really burn discs because I got so used for that. Yeah, I played a lot on this system, because of that. But the problem is I have about 200 burn discs on my PlayStation 1. But the thing is, did I play all of them? No fucking way. I probably have beaten, as a kid, I probably have beaten like 10 games of that 200 games. So that's the thing, that's what you guys need to see. So basically, all that money I spent with games, I actually only played 10, beat 10. I mean, I've played all of them, of course. I just didn't beaten all of them. It was impossible, of course, but still, it is curious. Like, you had a lot of games, and now thinking about it, I mean, yeah, I still have some, burned copies in sake of memories. But other than that, I mean, yeah, it's something that I personally learned that, having quantity, it's not a big thing. It isn't, because you don't really spend a lot of time, playing those games, because you can't decide what game you play next, because you feel like, oh, this game is cool, but this game looks cool as well. You start to playing this game, and then you start playing that one, and then you realize, oh, that one is cool as well, and you don't end up playing anything concretely, because that's the problem. This is what I feel nowadays with backlog. People buy a lot of games, but people never actually have time to play all of those games, and that's where I always start, especially with the PlayStation 2 era, which I didn't have a modern PlayStation 2. I realized that it's much more cooler to have PlayStation 2 games original, because of the artwork, and especially, in the end of the day, looking at my shelves being full with PlayStation 2 games was such a pleasure for me as a kid. Like, I was like 12, 13, having all those games. And PlayStation 2 era was cool, because this was the era that games actually started to drop prices. You could buy a PlayStation 2 game for 20 euros, which was crazy for me as a kid. And, I remember, PlayStation 2 era was the era that most of the games were, easy to find. And there was such a big variety of games, and now I feel like with the PlayStation 3 it's not the same, because the games I want I usually end up buying online, because now stores, they just only have AAA titles and things like that. But back in PlayStation 2 era was different. In that case, we had a lot of niche market games as well, so it was crazy for me as a kid, and I loved this era as fuck. And yeah, and I learned that I needed to make that game last. So I remember usually trying to get every corner of the games, and trying to do all the side stuff as well, because I didn't have other games to play, so I had to make those games last. So this was a thing I've learned as well with the PlayStation 3, even though I actually bought 7 games when I got the PlayStation 3. But I've beat it all of games I have on PlayStation 3. There's only 2 games I still need to beat it on my PlayStation 3, and my backlog on PlayStation 3, it's done. And that's it, guys. I usually don't go crazy by games. When I have like 10 games sitting on my shelves waiting to be played, there's no reason I should go to the store and buy other games. That's what I feel. And then you ask me, how about the new releases? Because sometimes new games come and you actually would like to buy it. I gotta say, I don't buy new releases. First of all, because I don't have money for those. Usually games here, especially here where I live, games are about 90 bucks. I'm not even kidding, guys. 90 bucks for a single game. Yeah, it could be a little bit expensive buying games here where I live. So basically, but even if I order from Amazon, I mean, I'm not the guy who spent 50 or 60 bucks on a game. Not by a long shot. It's not my type of thing. I rather, when I have games at home, I buy, a full price game. That's what I feel about it. Even though there's sometimes, painful times. There's some new games I want to play because I'm a really big fan of it. Like Tales of Exilia 2, I didn't play yet because I couldn't afford to buy, a 60 bucks game. Even Bayonetta 2, I went crazy, seeing all these people on Facebook and things like that. Like, oh my god, Bayonetta 2 is so cool, and I'm a big fan of Bayonetta, and it was so painful for me seeing all those people having the game. But that's something that sometimes I got used to. I always get my stuff really, really late. But but I get compensated for that because I spent a lot of less money, and I have time to play other games that otherwise, if I was always constantly buying new stuff, I probably wouldn't have time to play all of those awesome games. And yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, so I want to know, you guys, if you have a big backlog. I personally have 3 games to beat. I have Final Fantasy 10-2, which I've been playing recently, about for 30 hours so far. Final Fantasy 13-2, which I'm super hyped to try out, and Kuralka for the PlayStation 1. For those who don't know, this is actually the successor to the Shadow Heart series, I believe. So, guys, I want to know what games you have on your backlog, if it is a huge backlog or not, if you constrain your buys or not. I usually don't buy a lot of games. I have a lot of self-controlling buying games, so I want to know your opinion, guys, on this. If you have any questions, anything, just comment below. I don't know, things like that. Yeah, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. As always, thank you for watching and spending your time with these videos. And yeah, guys, this is probably the last video I'm going to upload until January, because, you know, Christmas and things like that. With family at my house, I can't really record anything. But I hope you guys have an awesome Christmas with a lot of gamings, of course. But, you know, or at least spend the Christmas with the people you really love. That's the important thing. And I hope you guys have a great, Christmas and an amazing, Happy New Year. And that's all for today, guys. I hope you did enjoy, guys, my video, and see you next year.